Hi, and welcome to the Dental Hygiene Basics podcast. My name is Dana. I'm your host. I'm excited to be here. And today I'm talking about something really random. It's something I've been thinking about for a while because I hear this phrase come up a lot. I hear it on my podcast. I've said this phrase before. I was actually thinking about doing an episode on this, and then I was listening to an old podcast episode where I was interviewed, and I said this exact same phrase. And I was like, oh my gosh, I said something that has kind of been on my mind and kind of bugging me a little bit. And it's mainly just because of the perspective or the idea that it gives when people say this, myself included. I'm admitting that I have said this phrase before. And again, there's nothing inherently wrong with this phrase that is commonly used, but I want to just kind of clear some air around it. And I want people to start thinking about this a little bit differently. Okay, I'm not going to gatekeep any longer. What the heck is this phrase that's been on my mind and kind of bugging me for a while? What it is when someone says, I knew I wanted to do something more. And what that means is in that moment in your life, you feel like you're not doing enough. But I think what people hear is that whatever you were doing before wasn't good enough. And so let me give you an example of this. I actually said this on a podcast that I was interviewed for. And I said, yeah, I was an assistant for several years prior to, ending up becoming a dental hygienist. And I knew I wanted to do more. What I really want to get across by having this entire podcast episode around this particular phrase is that you don't have to do more to be more. Meaning, if you're an assistant and you're happy and you're good at your job and you're finding ways to improve and get better and you keep learning, because I do think that that's really important. Wherever we are in life, you have to continually be trying to improve and learn and grow. Otherwise, we just get stagnant, right? But if I had decided to be an assistant the rest of my life, that is perfectly okay. And it doesn't mean that it's a lesser than profession than growing and going and getting more education, right? Right now, I'm a dental hygienist. I plan to be a dental hygienist for the rest of my life. Some people, you may hear them say, I knew I wanted to do more, or I knew I could do more. And they go on and decide to go to dental school or branch out of the op and decide to open their own business like I did, right? There's so many different ways that we can do more, but I want to make sure that when you hear an episode on the Dental Hygiene Basics podcast and you hear someone say, I knew I wanted to do more, or I knew I could be more, I want you to remember that that's a very personal goal. Doing more and expanding, getting more education, getting it out of the op or learning new things in the op, that comes down to you and your passions and what you want to do and become and who you want to be in the future. Maybe in your personal life, you want to do more. That's been a big factor for me, something I've been working on lately, right? Like, how do I separate a little bit from work? Obviously, I love and have an intense obsession with the career of dental hygiene. But I want to do more outside of my career. I'm trying to garden and trying to do all these other things and trying to exercise more and trying to do more, be more in that regard. But does that mean that what I was doing before wasn't good or wasn't, enough? No, it just means that personally, I'm on a path to improve in this direction. So I know this might be kind of a random podcast topic, but I just want everyone listening to know that if you hear someone say, I knew I could do more, and you're in the position that they were in when they had that feeling, don't take it as you should be pursuing more, right? Or you should be pushing yourself to do more, unless that conversation really, really spoke to you and made you feel like, yes, like that's what I want to do. I've been waiting for the sign and now I'm really excited. That's a good reason to push yourself forward, make changes, make adjustments, continue your education, whatever that might be. But if you're an assistant listening to this right now and you're thinking, well, they make it seem like my job isn't good enough, I should be doing more, I just want to point out that that is absolutely not true. Many dental hygienists were assistants prior to dental hygiene school, myself included. I know what goes into being a dental assistant. It's very hard work. It requires special skill sets, knowledge. So if you hear that, I don't want you to think, well, I have to become a dental hygienist or I have to go to dental school if I want to do more. Same thing. If you're a dental hygienist or a dental hygiene student and you're listening to this podcast and you're like, oh my gosh, all these people are doing all of these amazing things and they're saying they're doing more. Well, should I be doing more? That's a question that lies within you and you only. And you will know when the time comes to do more. You really will. I mean, you'll feel that pressure on your heart to make adjustments to change. And again, maybe that adjustment just means I'm ready to learn more about my role inside the operatory. Maybe that will be I'm ready to go back to school and advance my knowledge. Maybe that role will be I'm ready to step outside of the operatory and do something outside of clinical work like speaking or writing or entrepreneurship. So just take time to check in with yourself every so often and just ask yourself, wherever I'm at in this moment, am I happy? Are things good? Are they going, in the right direction? If so, don't feel pressured to make changes now, because I do think that the universe will give you the sign when to make those changes. Another reason I think this topic is kind of on my brain is because I'm in a season of slowing down right now. I'm trying to get my ducks in a row and really get my business organized and make sure that where I go in the future is where I really want to be. And everything I've been doing for the past 2 years with my business has made me incredibly happy. I've had a lot of stress. I'm not going to lie. I mean, opening your own business is very stressful, but I've been very, very happy with the work that I've been doing. And so I started kind of, listening to other podcasts and seeing things on social media and hearing I wanted to do more. And I kind of started feeling like I wasn't doing enough, even though I had just gone on this huge journey, right, to kind of create this thing that I knew I'd been wanting to create for a while. And so I'm sitting there looking at myself going, should I be doing more? Should I be, writing more articles? Should I be creating more content for social media? Should I be doing this, more, more, more? And I really had to take a step back and think, am I happy right now? And the answer is yes. And actually, when I really asked myself, what do I want to be doing right now? It's actually doing a little bit less. I really want to spend more time with my family and my friends and be out in my garden and exercise more. And this is a time for me to slow down. Not that I'm going to slow down on the podcast or work or anything like that, but I just mean that's kind of where I'm at my season of life and I'm checking in with myself. So I want to make sure that if you're listening to this and you're feeling pressured to do more or to change or produce or whatever it is, take a step back and really ask yourself, where am I at right now? Am I happy? Am I content? Because remember, our lives are kind of like, waves in the ocean. They rise and they fall. They rise and they fall. And sometimes the ocean is still and sometimes the ocean is roaring. Just remember, that's what your life is like, right? You're going to go through seasons of motivation, intense growth, leveling up, as some people say. And then you're going to go through seasons where things are a little bit more calmer, and that's a good thing. So again, don't feel like you need to do more if you see other people around you in their active, roaring wave phase, right? Be true to you, listen to yourself, check in with yourself regularly, and know that when the time comes to do more in whatever way that looks, again, personal, professional, you'll sink into that moment when it gets there. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you liked what you heard today, please feel free to give me a review. It just helps other listeners to find me. And best of luck on your journey, future registered dental hygienist.